Ugh, there's one in every family. House of the Dragon, Episode 2. I suppose actually I'll kick off that we now have our title sequence, which we didn't have in the last one. I actually hadn't even noticed that it wasn't in there before, and it is, I think, a completely unchanged theme song. I mean, okay. I mean, the first one was iconic. I kind of wish they'd done a little bit more variance on it, or at least noticeable variance, kind of like how when they redo Doctor Who opening titles. Like, it's still identifiably Doctor Who, but like it's a little bit different in terms of, where the emphasis is, maybe whether it's going more electronic or more acoustic. Not that I'm saying they should do electronic for Game of Thrones, but like a little variant in the theme would have been nice. And like, before somebody comes at me and says, "Oh, it was different. There was this." Like, it wasn't different enough that I noticed. Okay, that's kind of my point. And if Game of Thrones did not exist, I'd probably be like, it's a decent opening title thing. Unfortunately, because Game of Thrones does exist and has a much better version, well, it's not even really doing the same thing, but it has a stylistically similar but much better opening thing. Because the whole thing, and again, it wouldn't make sense to repeat it, so I get why they're trying to change it. But the whole thing with the Game of Thrones opening segment was it gave you the world map in a really interesting way, reminding you where everybody was, who the players were. This is just blood running through tunnels and setting off stuff until it pools, and there's the symbol for the house. And it's done in the same style, but it doesn't give me that kind of getting excited thing. I found myself going, okay, yeah, it's blood. It's blood. That's okay, blood. More blood. I don't know. It's not bad, but it feels very, very derivative, which, yeah, it is. Anyways, moving on. The episode itself, it feels harsh to say that it's not as good as the first one. It doesn't need to be. Like, the premiere episode needs to kind of grab you a bit. Second episodes, unless you're really going to start shaking things up immediately, you're still laying a lot of groundwork for the story to come. And that's largely what this is doing. This is kind of a moving the pieces on the board style story. And doing that wrong can make an episode feel very mechanical. It can feel like all that's happening is we're setting stuff up for next time. But if you do it right, you still get good moments to establish good things about things that are helpful to know about characters, and you get good moments between them, so you get a better sense of dynamics. And this largely does manage to do that. The 6-month time jump was slightly jarring. I'm not going to say it was a bad idea. I guess, to my memory at least, Game of Thrones didn't do time jumps very much. So I wasn't expecting it right off the bat, and to immediately leap 6 months after the premiere episode threw me off a little. But then again, given everything else that's going on in terms of Daemon having like very firmly established and entrenched himself where he is, and with the increased pressure of a new queen, 6 months seems like, given the world of Westeros, feels like a more reasonable amount of time for people to start really pressing on him over that issue than if this was set like a few weeks or a month after her death. That would be like, dudes, come on. Even though they could probably sell it in terms of it being a political reality. And that's, again, a big part of why I am much more engaged with this show than I thought I was going to be. Like, a lot of the emphasis in along with Sandman recently, this has been a case of where the marketing has made me more nervous, not because it's misrepresenting what the thing is, but because the marketing is putting the emphasis on things that I am less interested in. So if you watch my video on Sandman, I talked about this a little bit, but the short version is, I'm not super into one-to-one adaptations of things I already know, because like, I already know it. If you're doing it exactly the same, then I'm bored. But that's not what the Sandman is. But the marketing put a lot of emphasis on all the stuff that was going to be the same. So I got afraid that's what the whole thing was. And a bit with this, a lot of the trailers put a lot of emphasis on the action, on the dragons, on bigger scale stuff. And I was like, that's kind of the stuff I got burnt out on with Game of Thrones even before the show started going completely downhill. But I get into it, and here's all the political machinations that are actually what hooked me. And I'm like, oh, they're here. They're just not what they put in the trailers front and center. So I can't say that it's bad marketing, because what they put in these things is probably what is more appealing to the majority of the audience. And I am in a weird minority with some of my tastes. But the things that I wanted are still here. And so, like, with the political machinations, with the movements, with this guy who's still in mourning for his wife, having to make a choice of doing what is the obvious correct political thing, or to do something that is even vaguely in the realm of following his heart. And even that feels like he would not want to commit to. I'm sorry, I forget her name, but the daughter, I'm real bad with names. I'm good with faces, but I'm terrible with names. So it's not going to be uncommon for me to mention people by their titles rather than their names. You're going to have to get used to that. But you know, the daughter of the Hand of the King, you can tell that, like, he certainly cares about her, and it's kind of a situation where if I have to marry, I want it to be her. But I strongly suspect that if there was not the political pressure to marry, he wouldn't be doing this with her or anybody else. So I kind of feel bad for him. This show actually does a very good job of making it clear that being the king kind of sucks. Like, it takes, well, I was going to say it takes a certain kind of person to do it well. I think more accurately, it takes a certain kind of person to want to do it. And that's usually who should not be allowed to do it. But if you're not someone who inherently wants the position and wants the power, you're not going to have a good time ruling. And he clearly does not. And I also, I felt really bad for the daughter of the Hand of the King, because, I got the sense from her performance, and, there's always the possibility that later on it'll turn out that she was just, secretly doing power plays, and that's obviously what her father is doing by putting her in proximity of the king. But her as a character, the sense that I have of her right now is that she does have genuine feelings for the king, or at least concern and some degree of affection, not necessarily romantic, but that she does have that. And then in addition, she has this very sincere friendship with the princess. And even before the announcement that this is who the king intends to marry, she's already put in a bad position, because she's trying to support them both, knowing that, neither of them really wants her to be talking to them about the other one. And that immediately just puts her inherently in a tough place. So I felt bad for her. And the fact that I'm feeling empathy for these characters is a good sign. So I also actually kind of found it interesting, given how much aging up of a lot of characters Game of Thrones did. Not with all of them, but with a pretty good number. It was kind of jarring in a good way, good storytelling way, to have the daughter who was the better political match be so damn young. They name her as 12, but she showed up. I was like, oh God, that looks like my kid's age. And that was immediately unsettling. I was like, ah. And I think that was good. I think that any viewer who would have maybe thought the king really should have done the political marriage for the sake of, the realm or whatever. I'm hoping they would have saw that and at the very least gone, ooh, oh no. But, people make their own calls on what they think the character should or shouldn't be doing, or what is or isn't the smart move. But it was jarring in a way that felt purposeful, and I think felt effective. Little touch that I actually quite liked. Well, first of all, in general, I like that these dragons are design-wise pretty distinct from the ones from Game of Thrones. And in particular, I like the one at what is it? Oh God, it's not Dragonstone. I wanted to say Dragon's Keep. That's not it. Dragonstone. I like the one that was camped out there with Daemon, because it has this super elongated neck, which is very distinct. But more than that, when I first heard it, it doesn't have a roar. It's got this higher pitch. It's almost like a whine when it makes noise. I'm like, that's really distinctive, and I like that because it's especially when you've already done a whole bunch of dragons that were, pretty beloved and iconic, to just do something like that again. So to do something with a much more distinct visual gimmick like the super elongated neck and with that more higher pitch thing rather than just having, it's a dragon roar. They all kind of roar the same. No, he sounds different, which I'm hoping they're going to take advantage of. And I'm really kind of hoping that in the future, like, they'll use just the sound and how that thing sounds as like a cue. Oh crap, it's here. We'll see if they take advantage of it, but they've built themselves a really good tool that I do hope they use. Matt Smith is still engaging, still digging him. I feel like this does a pretty good balance of showing the large and the small scale stuff that is at play right now. Because obviously we've got the bigger things of alliances and concerns about pirates, and now this member of the small council looking like he's about to side with Daemon in a play for the throne. But then we've got the smaller things like the King's Guard needs a new member. And having that balance, especially early on, but if you can the longer you can maintain it, the better, was a big part of the appeal of the first show for me, especially in those first, I'd say about 4 seasons before the big overarching plots of Daenerys and the White Walkers kind of started to overtake everything. When there could be a balance of big and small stories, because like I have a natural pull towards smaller stories within a bigger setting. And I'm not saying those have to be the primary story, but to have them there, to have them sprinkled along, it helps. This is just, right now, this show is hitting a balance that I kind of forgot Game of Thrones properties could hit. And it's just nice. I'm surprised how much I'm enjoying this, how reliably I'm enjoying this, and how much I'm looking forward for it to keep going. Yeah, I've said it in the past, but lately I've been getting more and more opportunities to live it. I like to be wrong. When I'm skeptical about something, I really want to be wrong. And I kind of love it when I am. House of the Dragon, episode 2. What did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. Patreon's what pays the bills, enables me to do this as my living. Even if you can't help me out there, the like, the share, subscribe, those all help me out, but don't worry too much about it. Take a relaxed attitude around here so you can come on back next time you need a break. Time to give my thanks to my highest supporting patrons. That would include Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfullah, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Oliver B., Melinda Walters, Emu Delkey, Theotha Boyd, Becky Sparks, Fernabi Likes the Poodle, Zach, Idolin, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Adam RDL Taylor, Shane Ross, Shaylee Gourlay, Brendan LaRose, and TT. If you want your name said while these guys try and distract me, consider looking at the rewards of my Patreon.